You have landed on The Substance, a podcast aimed at being biblical, thoughtful, and human. Join us each week as we engage the culture without the culture war. I'm your host, Trevor Aiken, joined by my two co-hosts, my two friends, my two buddies, my two long-suffering partners in 2021.
That's right.
Vince Edwards.
What's going on?
And Phillip Marinello.
Hey, everybody.
Guys, it's been a year.
It has been a year.
Yep, we made it.
We're finally looking back. It's kind of funny because of the nature of the show we've done. Is this our third one? Did we do a look back?
Yeah.
In our first iteration?
We did. We did
Yeah,
indeed.
we did.
Yeah.
So this is our third year-end review.
Yeah, we actually launched. Did we launch with the Substantive Media? I felt like we launched with one. Or
We
it was
launched
like
with
our
First
fourth one.
Reformed.
We did something pretty early on, though, that was like a big... It was like 2 hours
It was a
long.
2019 review.
Yeah.
Oh,
It
let me
was-
scroll back here.
It was straight up too long, let's be honest. Shout out. Yo, go to thesubstancepod.com if you guys are regular listeners. And if you are new to the show, welcome. Thanks for jumping on to our year-end review. You get to hear about some of
We
our favorite
launched with it.
episodes.
That was episode 2.
I told you.
Oh, man.
Yes. Yeah. We
That's
launched
only
that
1
stuff.
hour and
and a
20
half.
minutes. We were young in broadcasting. That was not too bad.
Oh, yeah. That's not even that bad. I thought it was like 2 hours or something. Yeah. Go to substancepod.com. Leave a comment what your favorite resource that we shouted out from there was. But yeah, if you're new here, welcome. We're a Christian variety show. We do long form stuff, reflects, topic toss up that's shorter. We interact with the listeners. We have interviews and guests on. We cover movies and media and stuff like that. So it's just got something for everybody with guys who, I mean, at the end of the day, we're Christian guys. We make no apology about that. But we also aren't trying to like throw it in people's face and like, I don't know, make it like a chip on our shoulder or something like that. So thank you for everybody who left reviews, 5-star ratings.
Thanks for rolling with us, guys. Thanks for rolling with us in 2021.
Mm-hmm.
It was a great year.
Yeah, so many people I feel like joined up on the show.
It was a wild year.
Telling us this stuff is refreshing and things like that. And man, when we see stuff like that, it's y'all the Altoids. It's shockingly refreshing.
So if you're new to the show, this is not our normal format, but we just wanted to look back at the year 2021. And the last 2 times we've done this, we've just looked at media. We are going to look at some of the media that we took in, some of the film and television we've watched and the books we've read and music we listened to and things like that. But we wanted to start this year, since this was the first time in the history of The Substance where January through December, we had a full year of podcasting. So we want to incorporate that. We'll probably do that moving forward.
Yeah.
Just kind of looking back at the show for the year.
That's 51 other episodes to look back on.
That's crazy.
Other than this one. Yeah, it's legit. There's a solid body of work.
And all of
For
them,
sure, a
I mean,
milestone.
Vince and myself and Trevor, we've all been absent, I think, for one of them each. But like, we've all been on for 51 episodes. That's pretty dope.
Yeah, it is.
That's crazy.
Nice work, guys.
Also, I think we've all had 50. I think we all missed one.
That sounds
I
about
think
right.
that's true. It's possible I
about
missed 2 though.
You might have missed 2.
I think I missed 2, so maybe I'm at 49. But
I think but you were
All right,
on the
so-
Brett one this time.
All right,
Yep.
so you got to make it up.
You finally
you
did
gotta,
a movie with Brett McCracken.
right, I kept missing that one.
You gotta make it up though. You gotta give us one solo episode, and we're gonna record it. You
Hey,
just record it.
listen.
You can just go ahead and
I
turn
can-
that in.
Just Vince and
Just
what's that
Vince.
guy that you've been trying to get on?
My
Malley?
music.
Yeah, just Vince and Malley
Yeah,
solo.
just Vince and Malley music.
Hey, that would be a
Just throw that in
fire
there.
episode too.
No, I wouldn't even.
Well,
Actually,
his episode with
That'd be pretty
Jesse
good.
was mostly a Vince episode.
Yeah,
You know
so
what?
we'll say that makes it up.
that does make it up right there. There it is.
So
Nice.
before we get to patting ourselves on the back, which is not exactly what we're trying to do, let's talk about our own favorite memories and episodes. I'd love us to all pick a favorite, but maybe talk about like our top 2 or 3. We try to make shows that aren't just, if you don't listen to it the week it drops, it then becomes irrelevant. We really do try to make evergreen, quality, engaging, thoughtful content. So
I think these segments are fun too because there's lots of like new folks to the show.
Yeah, especially the last couple months here.
You're a podcast feed that's like super long and like there's lots of long episodes. It can be hard to know like where to jump in. And so we give you some ideas. It's great.
For sure.
Who wants to hit it off?
So my all-time favorite episode that we did this year in 2021 was with Kyle Strobel, Way of the Dragon, Way of the Lamb. He's the author of that. I think the reason why it was just so impactful is because I want to eventually go into ministry and teach apologetics, and just the conversation about the position of the heart and the position of the mind, and really being honest about what you're pursuing and why you're pursuing it, especially if it's anything related to a position of authority or power, and really like stopping for a second and saying, where is your heart truly? I think that's why it was such an impactful episode this year, because it was like, it really made me stop. And it's like, all right, I need to reposition and rethink this. So Kyle Strobel for sure was like all-time favorite this year, even though we had some incredibly fantastic guests. That was my favorite for sure.
He really came with the self-awareness and the humility. I remember being very impacted. I did in the last couple of months when my mom was in town. She's like, "Oh, let's listen to the episode of the show." So I looked through and I was like, "I think you'll really like this one." So I listened to it back in October. But I was really struck by just the self-awareness, just to straight up say, like when he and Jamin,
yeah, Jamin Goggin,
when they were in seminary, they were talking. Him and Jamin just looked at each other and kind of like they had the light bulb go off, like, "Oh, we're pursuing this because we want to be great." And like that was just because in a way that's not bad, right? Like we are trying to follow in the footsteps of Christ, who was the greatest. But that there's a razor's edge between like, I want to aim for high and valuable and excellent things, and like I want to be seen as like the excellent guy.
Yeah. Not to mention there's a lot of baggage with greatness that we bring into that conversation and thought as Americans what greatness means. And Jesus had a very countercultural then and now definition of what greatness looked like. And so to really enter into following him and being a student of Jesus and being a disciple of Jesus in such a way that you would actually achieve his definition of greatness is going to look even like failure potentially and weakness to the world, even though it's actual power, because of God's power through that. So anyway, you got to read the book. You got to check out the episode. That's a great shout. That's one of my
Those
tops
great
as well.
Yeah,
that's
a quick honorable mention.
Give a couple if you want.
Yeah.
Episode 51 is a topic toss-up, and we that was the first time we opened up the conversation about whether or not a hot dog is a sandwich, which it is.
It is.
And but after that, we talked about stumbling blocks. You know, if you do this or do that, you will be a stumbling block to your fellow brother, sister in Christ, or things along that nature. And I'm not going to spoil it because you guys should go listen to it. But that one was a really good one, because I think when we talk about we're trying to have really deep, substantive conversations, I think it really got there. And not to say that other episodes didn't. This is just one that sticks for me. So I really enjoyed that one.
That was a good one.
That is
and
good.
I think it probably will hit the merch shelves when we get to that level. The hot dog is a sandwich. Hot dog is not a sandwich t-shirt. So look out 100%. For that in 2 years, maybe.
Maybe.
So everybody sign up. Substancepod.com. That anchor link.
Substancepod.com.
21 Phillip, today, before the end of the year.
Right. But that'd be a late Christmas, New Year's gift to us. And sign up.
You got any other, Vince?
I mean, I could like run the list, but yeah, I mean, I was gonna say, like, if we get to podcasts, I've only listened to 3 really this year: Dr. Death, Mars Hill, and The Substance. Okay.
Oh, The Substance. Nice.
I'll come back to it.
What about you, Trev?
Yeah, so for mine, kind of looking through the catalog, man, a year is longer than you might think. Especially this one, right?
Yeah, in pandemic time, a year is it's a crazy thing.
It's a couple lifetimes or something. I was looking back and I saw episode 40, on systemic racism. And I think that that one is honestly one of my favorites that we put out this year. I'm going to go ahead and say it's my top for the year just because it's such a foundational episode to a lot of the other work we want to do on the show. It really clearly, I think, lays out the problem. It lays out statistics. It lays out counter arguments to statistics and the responses to those and the spiritual side of things. I think it's honestly a great example of engaging the culture without a culture war. It's kind-hearted. It's inviting for people who don't think the same way on stuff like we do. And it also is trying to assume as little as possible about where people are at and just try to meet people where they're at and help present things in a like helpful way, right? It's truth, right? And so, and we worked hard to get it that way. And I was really happy with how it turned out.
That was probably one that we did the most prep work for before we recorded it, I think.
Yeah. Yeah. Between either that one or the CRT episode had a lot as well.
Well, those were both supposed to be basically
both of those
like
were really high
primers for our treatments of these topics that we can just refer, be like,
yeah,
this is what we talked about in our reflects on this, or be like, hey, if you have a friend or a family member, someone in your circle that's genuinely curious and wanting to engage, send them this. It's an hour, and we really try to have it be something that really hits all the high points of people who are genuinely trying to engage the conversation. It's an hour, so it's not exhaustive, but we really tried to make a helpful primer for people to jump into it.
Yeah, and that's a point of value for the listener. We're really seeking to make sure that we create something useful that is not like just a hot button thing, but that can actually be used and referred to, listened to, and engaged with. And so that's one of the values of listening to the substance is you're going to get that kind of well thought out content.
Yeah.
It was nice to see even back in episode 40, this is going to be episode like 80 something. We definitely did not have as much heat as we do now. And we did some serious numbers with that episode.
Yeah.
I don't think it's because we were trying to chase a hot topic. Like I think people listened to it and they shared it.
I think it was because the work spoke for itself. It was, we had some good sourcing in there and stuff like that. So yeah, I definitely look at that one. I think that one was good. Runner up for me would be our episode on deconstruction. I feel like we've really seen that topic blow up this year. Even more recently, I was looking on Twitter and it just seems to be getting hotter and hotter, the discussion going back and forth about that. And man, that's the thing about social media and Twitter and stuff like this. And just there's so much noise in the world. You know what I mean?
There's a lot.
Like there's just so much off target talk, weird takes or not fully baked takes out there. And that just clutters the discussion. Then somebody's got to go respond to it, and it's really not even well thought out. And like the way that we approach deconstruction, we try to do it in a way that was, I think, one, humble, but then two, like we were trying to do it in a way that was compassionate, that really tried to just recognize, because I feel like that's such a thing that is missing a lot of the time, because it seems like what we have is people want to just like analyze people like they're a thing to be studied. And this is like a human being who's hurting, right? Which is probably part of the reason why he's searching in his faith. And, sometimes I can get lost in the discussion. And so
it often does when you're engaging from a culture war perspective.
Exactly.
It almost has to.
Yeah, exactly. You have to almost dehumanize the other people, the other side, in order to continue your crusade. So yeah, I think that's something I feel like I've asked a couple of my friends a few times. We'd start having a discussion about, oh, did you check out our episode on that? And they're like, oh, I missed it or something like that. I'm like, yo, check out that conversation, because I think it definitely has something to say in that discussion.
Hit us with it, Phil. What you got?
So this was kind of hard for me. Because like you said, we have 51 episodes, not really a whole lot of bummers in there from my point of view. And I know I'm biased, but I look at them, I'm like, I was pretty proud of all of that, really. So I was like, what did I enjoy? And what do I think has, like Trevor's talking about with the systemic racism and the deconstruction, what do I think has the power to encourage and to potentially persuade? And I really, really loved our conversation with Kaitlyn Schiess, as well as her book,
Mm.
The Liturgy of Politics.
Mhm.
It's hard to pick a
Mhm.
number one, but when I think of, I won't pick any of the ones you guys picked because Kyle was on my short list as well. And thinking about
Mhm.
our solo shows, I think Systemic Racism is one of the best ones we've done this year. So just I think her book was so refreshing and surprising.
Mhm.
I don't know if I came to it with some bias, and I was just kind of blown away by
Yeah.
its depth in simplicity,
Just got great insight.
how deep and how simple it was.
Mhm.
And I forget the guy's name off the top of my head. The guy who does the cover art for IVP is an absolute master
Mm.
at his craft. He's an incredible designer, and it was purposefully designed so that it looks like the type of book that somebody who thinks of themselves as super patriotic could pick up without feeling like they're going to get something woke. And
Yeah.
she doesn't really write it from like a activisty super perspective. It's just like, well, this is what the Bible says, and here's how we can think about politics as spiritual formation and how loving our neighbor is involved in this. And I thought it was a wonderful conversation. There are a couple of different things in her book and in the conversation we had with her that I've thought about and I bring up in conversation with other people a lot this year.
Mhm. Yeah,
Nice.
that was a fantastic episode, and just I think you hit the nail on the head, just like that. It was deep, but it was simple and accessible. So that's a great choice.
I felt like she also took what we were trying to do when we launched season 2 with On Politics and elevated it in a big way. Because
Oh,
like
yeah.
her
Oh, yeah.
ability to say this stuff and like really understand the issues in the church, and also like having thought about the political philosophy and like written a lot on it and like bringing them
Mhm.
together. I
Mhm.
mean, what we tried to do, I mean, she did it. she
Well,
was hitting
she
it.
also had a publishing company and an editorial team, but it was incredible.
100%. Yeah.
It was incredible, and
I think her
I'm
mind
super
is just
challenged and encouraged by just her philosophy of local church participation.
yes.
That is something I think about a ton.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Just be faithful to the closest church that you can stomach going to, basically, and
Mhm.
and just thinking what that means.
Yeah, because you can get plugged in there. Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly. And for my runner-ups, I don't even know if I have one. Like, I'm going to cheat and just say my honorable mention and runner-ups were like the people who we just had great rapport and conversations with. Like,
Yeah.
I think of like Barnabas Piper and Phil Holmes and Eugene Park. Like, these are just dudes that I feel like we could just chill for. I feel like we could just chill for a whole weekend with them and just hang out
Yeah.
and chop it up and talk movies, talk Bible, talk books, talk music, talk pop culture, talk family,
talk
talk
life.
church.
Yeah.
Like,
Talk
just
parenting.
just good dudes. Great conversations. I'm excited. Hopefully we can have Barnabas back on when his is it his Ecclesiastes book comes out?
Mhm.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's right.
Love to have him back for that. So yeah, just the people we met. And Courtney, that was a great conversation too.
Yeah. I really
Interacted with
enjoyed
her
that one.
online the other day, and it's just like I love getting to meet cool people and some people who like if we stayed in like hyper conservatism, we probably would never interact with.
For sure. For sure. Hey, shout out to Alexis Bussetti. And
Yeah.
her coming on our feed, dropping us on her feed. I think there's a lot of folks maybe listening to this episode who were hearing us on her stuff first. So
Yeah, so that's one of the next things I wanted to talk about. Again, not want to be too patting ourselves on the back, but just kind of look at some of our milestones, some of the things that we achieved, some of the things that we're proud of. And I think two of the big things were just those feed drops we got. I think we got definite boosts, especially from Alexis with putting us on her show
Mhm.
and her website, her newsletter.
yeah.
We all noticed the analytics. We got a nice little bump of subscribers and regular listeners after that, as well as with Vince's episode on Love the Neighborhood Enneacast.
Yeah, that was super fun, and it was actually nice because they released it few weeks after we did.
A couple
Yeah,
months.
it was a while.
Yeah, it was a
Yeah.
while, and I
Summer
so it
versus
was
fall.
refreshing because then I had to like hear it again, and I was like, oh dang, I kind of cracked the chest open there. a
You
little bit.
really did. Vince got real. If you're a newer listener to the show and you want to like really get an idea of Vince, either listen to our episode 50 or the Anycast episode with Vince.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was fun.
What did you do any of the homework? Did you try to do any like what's
You
it
know, I'm not gonna lie to you, man. It's been a tough year in other areas, and so I wasn't able to get to the books. However, I have every single book, or most, I think every book in my wish list for audiobooks. So I'm just waiting until I get that sale, and then I'm pushing purchase. And so it's still on my list to do. I just need to extend that deadline.
If that's an Amazon wish list, be sure to use that Substance affiliate link.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
Now that we
I
got that
got you.
going.
That's right.
So one of the really cool things that happened this year to the show was I think it was April. It was March or April of this year. We were named Podcast Magazine's top podcast in the religion and spirituality category. Some of you guys who've been with us for a while remember Eric Nevin's episode.
Mhm.
He
Also a good
writes
episode.
Yeah, he was the editor
It's a great
for the
combo.
religion and spirituality portion of Podcast Magazine. And so he gave us a shout out as the podcast of the month. And I just thought that was super cool.
It was cool.
Yeah. And if you guys have not listened to the Eric Nevins episode, please take the time to do that, because that was a fire episode.
And listen
Yeah.
to the episode
His
of his
podcast.
podcast that he
Yeah.
recommended in our show.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you can catch it in the links. I hope
That was
you know that we
crazy
like
episode.
write notes for all these. Like, and sometimes we have like resources and links and references and all that kind of stuff. I hope everybody knows that. Check show notes.
We really do put a lot of work into the show notes. We don't have 100% of the things that we say, oh, we'll have that in the show
Yeah.
notes, but we mostly do. And if we ever don't have something in the show notes,
And you want it?
tweet at us, DM us, email us, say, hey,
We'll get it in there.
I was excited about that thing. Now I can't freaking find it. Like,
Yeah.
where is it?
But this isn't
Yeah.
one of those shows where we just like literally put the show title back in the show notes and they like
That's
this
an
week.
insane thing to do.
You see people
Not
who do that,
everything
though.
has
It's
to have
like,
timestamps of all your topics, but to literally have no links and nothing it's insane.
One other cool thing that happened for us was what do you call this? Local magazine?
Yay, yay.
The
Yay.
Pitch. Kansas City local called The Pitch. We got nominated as best podcast in Kansas City, which was absolutely insane. Thank you to
Thank you,
everyone.
listeners.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you guys are the ones who voted for us. You actually like cast the ballot, put our name in there, and so we were in the running for that final win. We didn't get it, but we're incredibly honored that we were even not nominated and was able to compete this year. So that was awesome.
I picked up the issue a couple weeks ago, and we got our name published in two like legit. They're not like national publications, but we got our name in two legit publications this year.
Yeah.
yeah.
And that's crazy because I think our anticipation was obviously, exposure. We want people to listen, but it was really more just making good content and
That's
just
the goal.
kind of keeping to that motto and that heart. And then
Mhm.
it just being noticed. I think that's what it brings a richer enjoyment to it, because it's not a numbers game that we're trying to play, but it's nice to see when the numbers come in.
Speaking of the numbers come in, we don't talk about analytics a ton, but it was kind of exciting. This was a little while ago. I don't remember exactly when. And I don't know why specifically the number 15,000 sticks out to me. I hear a lot of podcasters talk about, because I think it's a snowball probably, right? Like a lot of
Mhm.
people celebrate 15,000 downloads, and we hit that, I think, I don't
About a
know,
month ago?
month or so ago.
Yeah.
And that was pretty dope.
Yeah. Which is crazy.
And
Yes.
we are
15,000.
close to having a single episode hit 1,000 downloads before too long.
Yeah, that'll
Yeah.
be cool.
I think
And-
that'll happen.
If you haven't checked out Bradley Mason on the Substance episode, I'm sure probably everybody's heard it, but it's
A time
really
or
good.
two based on
Great.
the numbers.
Great conversation. I need to go listen to that again. I love
We
that
gotta
guy.
have him back. He's down
Yes,
to come
we
back.
do.
We just gotta.
Yes, we do.
Well, we have Brett coming early next year, probably for maybe I won't spoil it exactly, but another Terrence Malick movie. We got him on the docket for that.
Dude, you know who I would love to have on the podcast in 2022?
Who's that, Trev?
That would be Julie Roys,
Oh, yeah, for sure.
the Christian journalist, investigative journalist.
Yeah.
Man, I would love to have her on the show.
I'm also very excited. We have had the website is brought to you by the listeners. We're still doing our 21 and 21 campaign.
Dude, yes.
Being real, I don't know if we're going to hit 21 individual listener sponsors by the end of the year, but we're pretty close to our original goal of $100 a month in listener support, which for an independent show, that's so encouraging. That like it's not a ton of money, and if you only give $5 or $10 a month, that's not like a ton out of your pocket. But like we go, okay, what's the account look like? Okay, can we upgrade this on the website? Can we add this feature? Okay, let's talk about merch, or let's talk about different advertising ideas to get in front of the people who would actually enjoy and appreciate and be encouraged by the show. Like you guys are enabling us to do that.
Yeah.
And coming very soon, I reached out to him today. He didn't have his ad copy ready, but we've landed our first paid sponsor on the show.
We picking stuff that we stand behind. It's not.
Yes.
We didn't just like turn on the ad feature in Anchor and it's just
Which
going to
is
read
insane
you
that
like
people do.
Like J. Crew or like I don't know what weird bath bomb ads or something.
Nothing against J. Crew or bath bombs, but that's not our thing. It's not what we're trying to bring the substance to.
No, so we got our first paid sponsor locked in, already paid, and we got our second paid sponsor that will be lined up in a couple of months. And hopefully we'll have more as we go. It's super exciting.
So thanks to you guys. Thanks for the year. Thanks for all the accolades, the stuff that we accomplished with you guys, the substancepod.com, the giveaways and stuff like that. It's been good. It's been a fun ride with all those things, and looking forward to 2022 as well.
Yeah. And by the time you guys are listening to this, I think our sale will be getting close to an end.
January 9th.
Yeah, January 9th. What do I mean by a sale? Well, IVP actually kind of partnered up with us and created a book list. So anything that we've either shouted out or a guest that we've had, if they have a book with IVP, you get, listen to this, y'all. Listen closely. 40% off and free shipping.
That's wild, dude.
That's a deal. Like that is a deal of a deal. So
curated
we are
book
super
list.
excited and super blessed to be able to have this opportunity. And by the time this episode's out, it'll still be going on, but obviously getting close to a close. So take advantage. Go on our Instagram. You'll see the selected book list that is available for that sale. And
12
use our
great
code.
books.
Great books, and use our code SUBPOD SUBPOD at checkout, and you will be good to go. 40% off the entire purchase and free shipping. So please take advantage of that.
Congrats if you're listening at this point, because our contest closed last week. Any of you guys who won, we actually did 3 rounds. Just because we're feeling generous, we had a really good year. We did 3 different rounds of giveaways from that list itself. So these are books that we love, that we believe in. So excited to share some of those.
Yep.
Love that.
All right, guys. So what did we consume and enjoy this year? What were we edified and enjoyed by? Enjoyed by? Nope.
Enjoyed by? What were we? That was like a literal translation of like the Spanish.
What were we edified by and enjoyed?
What did take, Usta? 2021. Let's do books.
Books. Cool.
Books of the year. I can go ahead and kick this one off.
Sure.
This is like our big boy substance shout outs right here. You just like,
is this all? Are you
go
getting
all
new
out.
books or books we read this year? Or both?
I am not going to guarantee that this book was put out in 2021. In fact, I'm pretty sure that it was not.
Got it.
In fact, that's going to be the case with all of my of the year stuff. Probably now and going forward, because I'm too lazy to check the dates on stuff. To be honest with you, I don't care. It was impactful to me this year, and I imagine that for some people, hearing that will be relevant to them this year as well.
It's a great
it is
thing
relevant
about a book
right now. All this stuff.
They're relevant for more than the first year that they come out.
All the stuff that we're going to be shouting out is relevant right now. So that would be Reading While Black by Esau McCaulley.
Word.
Best book in a long time in the Christian theology category that I've read. Super helpful for me and helping me balance a white perspective of theology that I grew up with. Super faithful, super orthodox, compelling, great writing. Topics are on point, engaging the culture without the culture war stamp of approval. Like it's just, he really
well
goes deep.
reasoned. And
Yeah.
like if it's a good book that I think if somebody is willing to pick up a book called Reading While Black and read with it and engage with it, it's written very winsomely and like it's written very well. It's not contentious. It's just here's how I'm hitting it.
Yeah, very accessible. My journey with that started with listening to him on podcasts, and then I listened to the book, and then I bought the book, then I read the book, then I read the book again and underlined and notated even heavier that time. So like that, I feel like that book, I had quite a journey with it this last year, and it's a good one.
That's on my list as well. I've heard him on a number of podcasts and listened to the book, and I think I'm gonna buy it myself on the IVP sale here because that's
IVP
not one. I think
Subpod.
we got digital copies. Like we get a lot of physical books from people, and I could probably ask IVP for it, but we get a ton
Code
of free
Subpod.
crap. I'll
Go get
support it and I'll buy it. I was looking at books as my top 3, and Reading While Black was certainly in it. And as I mentioned before, Liturgy of Politics by Kaitlyn Schiess was so good. Like that's one that I might even buy a couple of copies to give it out. If you guys remember when I shouted out the AND campaign Kansas City here, I'm a part of that here regularly. I'm going to suggest at some point when it's appropriate that is something that we kind of look at as a resource together, just because I thought it was so clarifying. And then the other spiritual book in this category that I really loved was Taylor Schuman's When Thoughts and Prayers Aren't Enough, just about gun violence in America and the church's response and lack thereof to it. I just thought it was super powerful. And the book is not trying to give you like an easy, here are the arguments against guns, or here's why gun control's needed, and like here's your little talking points that you can argue with your hyper conservative NRA member family people like at the next holiday event. It was just her talking about her own journey through it and how she was treated by the church after she survived a shooting. And it was I've never really read or heard or watched or listened to. I've never really seen an in-depth, serious engagement with the topic of gun reform in the U.S. from a Christian perspective ever before this. So it was very impactful for me.
Nice.
Solid. So, listeners, I'm gonna keep it a buck with y'all. I have very ambitious goals this year to read, and life happened in a very unique and joyfully challenging way. And so I really didn't consume much books, if I'm being honest. I have a list that is ready to go. I've purchased books and I purchased audiobooks, as well as physical copies with every intention to read them. And then they didn't get read. So just keeping it honest, because I don't want to reference a book that I haven't actually finished.
For sure.
So I'll tell you guys top 3 books that I would like to read super, super quick. One is The Ruthless Elimination of Worry by John Mark Comer.
Of Hurry, yeah.
Definitely heard that was a good one. Eric Mason, Urban Apologetics. And then obviously, like both of you guys mentioned, I'd love to listen and read Reading While Black. And it's been on my list for a while. And it's quick shout out to Alan Noble. I definitely want to read You're Not Your Own. So that's my intended list. It's not as ambitious because I was like, I'm going to do 20 books a month or something. And it's like, that's not going to happen.
So good. We all got Reading While Black on our list.
So
Substance
good.
Book of the Year, I guess.
Easy. Yeah,
Decided.
I could say so.
I was looking at the fun books I read as well. I loved On Reading Well by Karen Swallow Prior. But I was looking through my comics. I was like, I haven't done a comic shout out in a while. And I was like, what would I actually want to read? And just thinking about some of the tastes that I've seen that some of our active listeners who are into some of the nerdier stuff. Seven Secrets by Tom Taylor is an absolute delight. It is everything like a fun comic book should be. So that's going to be and it's not like perfectly all ages, but it's not like a mature reader's book. Like I'd probably hand that book to like, I don't know, a 10 or 12-year-old. But that's just me. So that was a lot of fun. I did a lot of comic reading when my son was born this year.
That makes sense.
Just cranking through the comics on Hoopla. Because that was the pandemic too. You got 20. You usually get 10 rentals a month on Hoopla. When the pandemic was real hot, you were getting 20 free rentals a month. So I was cranking comics in the hospital and in my 2 weeks off.
Nice.
All right. So let's get to album of the year, and let's be real, Phil. Let's be real. It's about 9 days till the end of the year.
Yeah,
I don't think Kendrick's getting album of the year this year. I don't think he's doing it. But for myself, I went ahead and put J. Cole, the off season there. I mean, I feel like I listened to almost exclusively hip hop this year.
That's what's up. We finally got him.
Really got into it. And I enjoyed the off season. You know, it's about work ethic. Ultimately, it's about the whole idea of the off season is the success that you have in big moments and big games and things like that is determined by the work you put in at unseen moments. And I think that there's, in some senses, Christian elements, not to Jesus juke it to that. Like,
yeah,
it's substantive. You don't have to need to be Christian role model fully, but it's got a lot of good stuff.
Yeah. And so it's just the lyrical work was there. The drive was there. The energy was there. The charisma was there.
So good. The production is so tight. Like from the jump, there's not really skippable track. And not that you can't skip and listen to your favorites, but like it's not one that you're like, this is kind of the bummer on it. For me.
I will say, since you mentioned production, I think that the musical production, some of the song balance, like the tone and everything, could have been done a little bit better. But what he brought to it, the vocals on it, I think is really what set it apart.
He's an MC. There's other rappers that I like listening to, kind of for different reasons, but like I'm a lyrics guy, and there's not a ton of guys who can do or who actually do what he does at that level, and come that hard.
Yeah, 100%. It's because he put in work in the off season.
What else? He's still on the grind. You said you've been listening to a ton of hip hop. What else you been listening to?
So I listened to that a lot this year.
Vince, did you listen to the off season?
Oh, of course.
What'd you think?
It's pretty good. It was not bad. Honestly, I'm still 2014 Forest Drive and KOD still hits a little harder for me.
Okay, Vince turned me around on KOD.
KOD is good, dude.
Yeah.
Made me reassess it.
A banger for me. And I think because he was getting to a deeper issue that is affecting a lot of people, especially young people, with that particular album. Man. And then I think production value for 2014 Forest Drive has been the best thing that I still ever heard from J. Cole. I love all his singles and his features and stuff like that. But I mean, he absolutely demolished that album. And so far, I've enjoyed most of what he's put out, but those two albums still are personally the best as far as J. Cole goes.
Yeah, I think you're right. Like as far as KOD bringing a lot more production as well. Mm-hmm. Though I do still kind of feel like the energy and the charisma was up on Amari. It's just
it's so good. It's so good.
I can't deny that one's a good one.
I listened to a good deal of No Big Deal as well. And another, I know you throw shade at him
on the show.
You throw shade all the time at Drake, but I got into my man Drake this year. I got into it.
Thank you. Welcome. Welcome.
I actually listened to more hours of Drake than J. Cole, according to my Apple Music replay list.
Well, that's because
Jeez.
Drake has made like 130 song albums that all have the same song on them.
No. Just
No,
shut-
no.
Go
that's
ahead and
not
stop
true.
that. Go ahead and shut that down. The other rapper that I listened to his album a good deal was JK47, and I feel like he's somebody who I don't know if anybody even knows
Was that
his
that
name.
Australian guy?
Yeah, and his album is good. Like, it's a good album. Like, the whole
I never
end to end.
checked him out.
It's a good album.
What's it called?
I'm telling you, JK47. It's the album title is Made for This. JK47 Made for This.
I will check
It's
that out.
It's really good. This is his debut album. Honestly, Phil, check it out. Like, I think
I
you'll
will.
like it.
I'm sure
it's
I'll like
really good. But anyway, J. Cole is where I would go for album of the year over Certified Lover Boy. Sorry, Drake. You got a few good songs on there.
Yeah, that was whack. That was a whack album.
It was not a whack.
It was not a whack album, bro.
Get out of here, Philip.
Just saying.
Comparatively to other albums that have been released, sure, it's not the best album, but it's not whack.
It was not.
He's
album
got
of the
some
year.
bangers on there.
It was not album of the year.
Tell me which
fine.
songs are bangers. I'll go back and listen again.
Go listen to No Friends in the Industry.
2 or 3
No Friends
songs
in the
is what I
No
listen
Friends
to.
in the Industry is fun.
Okay. I'll check it out on YouTube. Vince, you're always the one blessing the playlist. I'm sure you got a mountain of stuff here.
My
Let me get my
list is
fingers
long.
ready here. Okay.
My list is long, but I'm not even gonna do that to you. I am only going to shout out one album of the year. So
Right.
Trev, you went in the lyrical rap direction. I'm going more into the vocal, exactly. So Yeba released
I knew it.
her first
I knew
project, her first album called Dawn, and I've shouted it out in a previous episode
Yeah,
recently.
you said that was your vocal album of the year at that
Yeah.
time.
And so since Kendrick didn't drop, that's the one. I mean, just again, and I described
That's
this
fair.
in the shout out, but I'm a vocalist, so I've kind of had a bit of formal training as well as just been singing for a very long time. So when you hear what she does and how flawless and effortless she does it, and you know the difficulty that it takes to do what she did, seemingly like just breathing. That's the part that's just like so deeply impressive and incredible about the album, because she's doing things that you can't just do not even with a good hot shower. So it's just like she just absolutely bodied that
That's
project,
nice.
and it's been a long time coming. So definitely for me, that's the album of the year. Yeba's
go.
project, Dawn.
Good.
I will.
That's
I
good.
promise that I'll at least start listening to it.
Cool. That's good
Dude,
enough.
I listened to it. It was good.
As far as like non-Christian hip hop, J. Cole rocked it for me. It was great. 2021 was not a huge year for brand new stuff for me. It was like a catch-up year and a discovery year. But one of the releases that did come out this year that I thought was incredible, I shouted out before, was Antoine Bradford's album. Man, that's one that I hope gets a vinyl pressing. I would love to just sit down on the couch and spin that. It's so good. And you don't usually hear songs that sound like that at such a high level that are also just explicitly glorifying the Lord. Dude is super talented. I'm praying and hoping he stays on the path. Like, he could be like an all-time guy for me. Like, if he continues on that, I'll listen to his stuff as long as he puts it out. I thought that was an incredible project. I mentioned it before. Propaganda's first Terraform EP I thought was great. His second one I like, but through the course of my life, I've only listened to his second EP like twice. But that first one I've listened to a ton, and I just love it. So hopefully he's on the dock, coming here soon. Hopefully on the Substance,
Yeah,
with rappers. They are not always the most reliable people. That stereotype is true. Show Baraka literally was like, oh, like we locked it down. We double
I don't think that was
confirmed it.
his fault. I don't think that was
Just
his
the
fault.
team communication. And his person was like, hey, you go on. He's like, well, I guess I'm talking to y'all for the next hour.
Who are y'all?
that was such a good episode.
Hey, I have another music thing.
Hit it while I'm trying to figure out my last one.
All right. It's kind of related to music, but I kind of threw this in there as like a bonus weird category, but like YouTube channel of the year that I watched.
Okay.
Man.
Oh, I know what you're going to say. Yeah,
I just took off on some LA Leakers freestyles this year on
so good. I'm glad.
kind of goes along with hip hop,
into
but
those.
like so good. Like honestly, the quality of the hip hop and the bars on the freestyles rivals, if not exceeds, what you're gonna hear on a lot of albums. Like just the layers and the vulnerability and the
a good freestyle is there's nothing like it. It's like the energy. It's such a special thing to have
and
a good
I feel
freestyle.
like they kind of have set this bar. Like it seemed like a year ago or so, you would search freestyles, you'd come up with like, and maybe this is just as an outsider, so I could be completely wrong. Take this with a grain of salt, but it would be like most freestyles are like 4 to 5 minutes. But like now it seems like consistently dudes go on there and it's like 8
plus
to 12-minute freestyles.
And they're flamed up too. Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
I think Black Thought really set the bar high on that.
Yeah, he set that. Yeah, he did. Black Thought's 10-minute freestyle. Guys, look that up on YouTube. But then, I mean, Big Sean came in there and literally spit on 4 beats. It was like he released an EP on a freestyle on the Leakers like for 9 minutes.
It was real good. It was real good.
It was nuts. Ray Vaughn goes hard.
Yes.
There's so many.
Ray Vaughn had me think about my childhood. I was like, oh my goodness, this dude grow up next to me?
The other album I really loved this year that, let me verify, it was a 2021 release, was a Manchester Orchestra, The Million Masks of God. Just super atmospheric. I don't even know. I guess it's kind of rocky, like alt modern rock. It's phenomenal. It's a really, I don't even know if rock is the right word, like poppy, electronic-y, like vibey. It's wonderful.
Nice.
Those are my new albums of the year.
Sweet.
All right. Podcast of the year. So, I mean, podcast of the year for me is going to have to be the Rise and Fall of Mars Hill podcast.
We've talked about that a time
this
or
should
two.
be literally no surprise to anyone. But the journalism here's the thing. This podcast, it's so many things. It's historical about Mars Hill. It's theological in the ways that it kind of diagnoses issues in thinking and practice in the church. But it's also autobiographical in the way it kind of addresses the punk rock Christianity side of things and that swagger that a lot of young Christian guys in the reform movement, like myself, like Phillip,
for sure,
and to an extent too, even you, Vince. I know your upbringing was different, but like there is a sense of that touched my life, and I had to look back. It got me looking back at myself and examining myself and my actions and seeing myself in a different light too. So, the Rise and Fall of Mars Hill podcast, for all those reasons, easily my podcast of the year.
Nice, man. And I think, you hit the nail on the head for why it's a fantastic podcast and well needed and in a way timeless.
I still need to finish
it. I think that content won't go away anytime soon. Even though it's focused on this one area, it just hits so many different points. So I agree.
And it's so universal. Like the flaws that Mark had, right? Those weren't unique to him.
Yeah.
He just kept getting lucky to like fail at a higher level.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Great shout out, Trev.
Thank you.
Mine's is not Christian. It's the Dr. Death series.
Yeah.
But the reason why I like it's gruesome stuff. And it's like you're often screaming at whatever device you're listening to it. Like, how did you get this far in medicine
That
to
makes me
do all of this
cringe,
to these
man.
people.
Oh, man.
But what I really enjoy about it is, there's a lot of like really complex, in-depth kind of professions. And the young woman who did basically the narration and basically kind of led you through what was going on, what happened, why it was wrong, and the actions or inactions of the doctors and individuals that were involved. That was the part that was super drawing because, medicine's not super easy to understand, and like a lot of different professions, but this lady was able to really make it accessible, and so that way you can follow along and not feel like you need to have either a biology degree or have been in medicine. Now, I thankfully my wife's a doctor, so I did have a little bit of leg up, but even if she wasn't, I think it would have been still a fantastic podcast to listen to because the content was given out so well. So there's 3 seasons, and all 3 were really good. The 3rd season was probably the best. So
It's
Dr. Death
such
podcast.
a crazy story.
Yeah.
It's an insane story.
Super
And like
super.
we're looking at so many different parts of our society. Like in a lot of ways, it's a very American story, like about authority and gender dynamics and privilege and just like how systems work and what types of people are protected in those systems. And like, I mean, talking about failing up, like it seems like a fiction. Like it seems like a really crazy,
crazy story,
like insane movie or novel. But what's the closure to that? Do they have closure yet?
So for the first season, the guy who was botching people's spines in Texas. Sorry, dude.
Just give me. This is why I can't listen to this stuff, man. Just give me the heebie-jeebies.
Yeah,
I would just be crawling out of my skin, bro.
It literally is. Like when you just hear about the things that he did.
Sounds, I just not
as good as
it
sounds.
I'm gonna go ahead and pick ignorance of this whole issue.
I got
it's
you.
insane.
To answer the question, yes, there was resolution. I think the guy in the first one got convicted. The other guy,
there's different Dr. Deaths. I've only listened to season 1.
Yeah, each season is a different doctor who did some crazy stuff and killed people.
Oh boy, boy.
The second one I didn't finish, but the third one he was from out of the country, so a lot of this wasn't happening in the States. But then some of his stuff, he was basically making like these tracheas to replace and be like this life-saving operation, and come to find out he was playing everybody. Like this thing hadn't been tested, it hadn't gone through any trials, and there was like a 0 success rate. Everybody he did this procedure on died.
No. Dude.
But I don't think he got convicted. I think he had like legal proceedings, but I don't think he was convicted of anything.
Oh. No, okay, so our next topic.
I thought we were going to do a couple. I brought a few. Obviously, Mars Hill is one that we've talked a ton about on the show. And one of the ones that I mentioned previously in a shout out a few months ago, one of my most enjoyable true discoveries this year was the Blank Check podcast, the movie podcast about the filmographies. It was perfect. So I'm a big director guy. I'm a big movie guy, but I like to find directors and writers that I like the people who create it. Like I love actors, but the people who are behind it and who come up with it and create it, those are the people who I probably most follow. And when my second son was born earlier this year, I went through all the Michael Mann films, and then I discovered that they had all those. And then I didn't go through quite all of them because John Carpenter had a lot. I went through a lot of them, but they did all the John Carpenter films kind of around the spooky season and adjacent. And they have like, I don't know, a couple hundred shows. So tons of filmographies to go through. I've been enjoying the heck out of that. Trevor, I think for specific movies, you would find it fascinating because they talk about the movie, but they talk about like the forces that created the movie or the forces that made the movie successful or not. So it's not just cinematic criticism. It's like cultural context of like the business and what projects were they coming off, what were the roles of the producers in it. Like, it's a really fascinating show if you have any interest in things like that.
That could be interesting. Yeah. I can throw another podcast into the ring too. I can't really in good conscience say it's like a year-end review thing because I literally discovered it like 2 days ago.
I was gonna say this too. That's gonna be my next one.
But man, so there's this podcast out there called Gangster Capitalism that I was unaware of. They've done some good stuff, but like recently I just realized like they had done this whole expose on
this year, season 3 is in June or July. It started.
Was Liberty University and Jerry Falwell Jr. And I mean, you guys, if you've been paying attention to the news at all, not to mention, Christian evangelical religious news, about the stuff with Jerry Falwell and the scandal that they are in and like them going back and forth. And and then finally getting, booted from the presidency of Liberty University, which, by the way, second largest taxpayer funded recipient, federal funding recipient of any university in the United States, second largest. So it matters to everybody, like super newsworthy stuff. I think it's an interesting contrast as well, listening to that, which is definitely secularly produced, secular angle, secular takes. I don't agree with all their takes, versus Mars Hill that was produced by Christianity Today. Very much more theological is The Rise and Fall of Mars Hill. But yeah, so this one in Gangster Capitalism, much less theological, but still the reporting is there, the journalism is there, and honestly,
it's heartbreaking stuff, man.
It's not like I almost don't feel like I could recommend. Like I recommend it because it's
very much
good,
recommend. Like it's this thing that you don't. It's not pleasant awful to listen to.
It's not. Yeah, it's not a good listen. It's a recommended listen, but it is unpleasant. Like
it's like taking your medicine. It's like. It's travesty. Like it's when you read about like war crimes or something. Like it's terrible. Like I was driving around. I texted Trevor yesterday because I was aware of Gangster Capitalism, and I was like, I don't know if I'm ready to listen to that. And then I forgot about it. And then you texted me earlier this week, like, hey, I'm listening to this. You should check it out. And like, dude, I was driving around for work. I stopped. Like, I was basically brought to tears by this stuff. Like it's so wicked.
Horrible. It's like it's hot fuzz, like the greater good type stuff. Like let's be community of the year by like hiding stuff. Like that kind of stuff goes on. I'll just say this, dude, to wrap it up. Like y'all have to listen to it, but like if you or anyone you love or anyone you know of who you love, like their friends, is thinking about going to Liberty University, please listen to this podcast. And
we almost went to Liberty University.
I shadowed on the campus of Liberty University.
Yeah, we both did like the little the visiting weeks or whatever to like check it out.
Yeah, man, we did. We had visiting. We both did visiting weeks there, and like I know there's a lot of people that had good experiences there. I mean, technically, yeah, so did I. But man, I'm just, even apart from the ideological perspective, which I think is a problem. There are so many problems with that place as a place of higher education and learning. If you guys, let's be honest, like if you guys, the listeners, are in a sense like my friends in some extended way, I would recommend to you, do not go there. And I would recommend to your friends and family, please don't go there. Not in its current iteration.
It's a very broken place. Like, yeah. If it continues to exist as an institution, it will need to drastically change.
Yeah, it's bonkers, y'all. It's crazy.
It's really, really sad stuff.
With that being said,
we talk a little movies and TV. There wasn't a whole lot that I was looking back through my list. Like,
oh yeah, we didn't do movies.
I got a
ton of new stuff.
I got a movie one.
Hit it.
Movie of the year for me. Gonna have to go with Get Out. I really enjoyed. We watched that for the episode with Eugene Park. Great conversation with him, and I think theme in a lot of these things, other than album of the year, that was like, it really made me have to reconsider and think about myself. And like, I just felt that was a movie that actually like brought conviction as I started to think about it, because if you watch it correctly, like there is a critique of allyship there. And I think there's a lot of critique for a lot of people as far as the issues of race and racial justice are concerned. And there's just something there for everybody. And it's a good movie to kind of look at and critique yourself.
Nice. I'm gonna actually go in a different direction.
Do it.
I'm gonna give an anti shout out.
Oh, snap.
Okay. What kind of
There's
award is
one
this?
movie.
This is like the
There's one movie I watched this year that was like, it's not the worst movie I've ever seen in my life, but it definitely hits top 5.
Shoot.
And it's a movie called Malignant. It's
Really?
a horror film. And this is before I got off
Is that
of
bad,
social.
huh?
It's before I got off of social media, so I kind of went to Twitter on this one. Forgive me, Lord. And it was so bad. The production, the angles,
That was really interesting.
the cinematography, the plot. It was super predictable, and it was almost like it's a low budget film.
You saw all that stuff coming?
Yes.
Interesting.
Um.
It was pretty bonkers.
Yeah, sure. It was crazy bad. So, you know, no disrespect, because we might have a one of their like directors or producers on our show in the future. So they might not dig too deep in the
genre movies
archive,
hit you or they don't.
Yeah, and you know, so like I said, it's not the worst movie that I've ever seen in my life, but. Yeah, I would not recommend that movie. But this is an open challenge to the listener. If you've seen it and you think that it's fantastic, head to thesubstancepod.com and under this episode in the comment section, tell me why I'm wrong.
Let them know.
Oh, shoot. Okay, so this is 2021. I was looking through my Letterboxd ratings. This is not my movie of the year, but one of the most recent watches of mine that was like shocked, like I was just bowled over with how entertaining it was. This is a very like intense and brutal film, but Don't Breathe 2 I thought was phenomenal.
Man, that was been on my list, but I haven't gotten a chance to see it because my wife wants to see the first one.
It's so okay, and Don't Breathe.
It's really good.
It is an incredible original thriller. Again, super
like
graphic and violent and intense. It's called Don't Breathe. I'll give you the elevator pitch of actually kind of the first one is these kids break into this guy's house and it's a blind guy, but like surprise, the whole like he's got a bunch of other heightened senses and he's got some sort of background training. They don't get a ton into his background in the first one, but like homie, like he's an old blind guy, but dude like wrecks shop.
Yeah.
It's very creepy. And one of the creepiest scenes I've ever seen, I think, was in the first one. It goes to some very dark places. But the second one, I'm a big original ideas guy. I was like, I love the directors and the writers. So I was like, I didn't want a sequel. It didn't need a sequel. Like, what are they going to do? And I saw the trailer and I was like, oh, different people break into his house this time. And he wrecks shop again. Cool. But it was so insane. There were like 4 or 5 different twists, and it's only a 98-minute movie. Like it zagged so many times. And for me, I'll say like it all worked on me. I don't know if I'm a sucker or if it was just really good. Like he's not the type of character that like I really wanted redemption for. And they kind of give it to him and they don't, and they do, and then they don't. Like it truly kept me on the edge of my seat, super entertained. Again, very hard R. Very brutal, intense movie, but I found it highly entertaining. Not necessarily terribly substantive, but I just enjoyed the heck out of it.
Yeah.
There you go.
And super quick, I will give a regular shout out for the Amazon TV show Them.
Yes,
I do believe that was released this year. And that was I will also say viewer discretion is advised. There are some pretty intense scenes. Some physical abuse is in there. But it really, I will say the ending was a little janky, but overall It's a actually really well done story, and it's like this articulation of certain either stereotypes of black people or kind of these internal desires that are not often discussed, and it's kind of personified in a way. And it's a really well done television show. So it is 10 episodes and they're about 50-ish minutes each, so it's quite a bit of content to sit and watch. But if you have the time and either binge or want to space it out one episode a week or something like that, Amazon Prime TV show Them is recommended for sure.
And I'll give
Nice,
another
dude.
one out for the show. We've talked about some of the Marvel shows, and WandaVision I thought was really great. But I was looking at some of the shows I watched this year. It's a Taika Waititi show on FX called Reservation Dogs. And it's this like meandering kind of hangout drama. There's some comedy, there's some like surreal, but it's a drama about these kids on an Indian reservation. It's touching, it's funny, it's kind of surreal and crazy. One of the most original shows that I watched this year. So if you're into, and definitely serious language in the show, but if you're looking for something different that's entertaining and might challenge you a little bit, I thought Reservation Dogs was super interesting.
Awesome. Well, my good people, that is the year end wrap
Happy
up.
New
And
Year.
Happy New Year. I'm sure we all had quite a bit. This could have gone very much longer, and we could have filled up probably 3 hours worth of content
Yeah,
of the things we love.
Easily.
We really think that these things that we've mentioned, we really enjoyed, and we recommend that you go back in our catalog, go back in our archive. We've got so many good episodes with good guests, or some things that we just discussed, books that we've mentioned, albums, singles, podcasts. There's a wealth of information and things that we think that if you take the time to either engage or just try out or go listen to, we really think you guys are going to enjoy it, and maybe some things to add to your list for 2022.
And tell us, hit us up. Tell us what year, if you guys are list makers, shoot us some stuff that we should put on our, because like I said, this year for me was a lot of going backwards. Hit me up with those movie, books, podcast, album, especially albums.
Mhm.
I am not as good of a music listener as I should be. So tell us what y'all been enjoying.
Yeah, we want to know your favorites. Go on the substancepod.com, hit up the comment section. Let us know music, movies, podcasts, these kind of things. What's on your list? Appreciate you guys interacting on there.
And if you want to get in under the wire for the 21 and 21, and you're like, you know what? These guys are consistent. They're going to stick around. I'm going to throw them $5 or $10 a month. You can do that at the anchor link in the show notes. That would be awesome, especially in this economy of just kind of supporting the stuff you like. So if that's something you can do and are interested in it, that would be awesome. And if end of the year you kind of want to give us a little bit, but not necessarily sign up regular, you can hit us at Cash App, $ the Substance Pod there for our digital tip jar. If you want to just give us a little bit of something one time, you can do that there.
Guys, hop on our website real quick, and that is thesubstancepod.com. There you are going to be able to engage with us. We have a comment section under each episode, so you just have to click on the episode, scroll down a bit, and we have a comment section. Really engage with us in that area. We'd love to know what you guys are thinking about the episode that you're listening to. There you can get a quick link to all of our socials. Follow us on Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook at The Substance Pod. And there you'll know who our guests are, our giveaways, anything that we're doing. And you can create a post and tag us in it, and we'd love to engage you there. Engage with us online and on the socials.
We're super thankful for everybody in 2021 who sent us emails, either just thoughtful emails telling us about how the show has impacted you. We thank you so much for that. Or engaging with us, asking us hard questions, things like that. Like it's been a great year interacting with you guys. So definitely, if you have more thoughts, if you have interactions, you have things to share, thesubstancepod@gmail.com is our email address. You can write us there. We'll also have a phone line that you can call at 913-703-3883. Great place to just leave a voice note. We can even put some of that audio on the show, Maybe y'all are a little shy about that, which is why it did not get as much action as email in 2021, but you never know. Maybe it'll pop off in 2022. We're going to keep it around for you. So you can give us a ring there and leave us a note.
If you are thinking of supporting us, but financially is not the way to do that right now, one great free way to support us is a rating. You can go ahead and give us a 5-star rating on Apple, and now Spotify has rolled out ratings on their platform. So give us a 5-star rating on Apple or Spotify. If it's not a 5-star, tell us why first before you make that rating. And we'd love to know what we could do to earn that 5-star. So if you're thinking of supporting us in a free way, that would be a great way to do it.
And share an episode with a friend, man. Word of mouth is how little shows like ours get noticed. I mean, it always helps when our guests retweet the shows, but if you like it, share it with some folks over the holidays.
We know a lot of y'all have been doing that, so we appreciate you. We thank you for hanging out with us in 2021, and here's to seeing you next year
on The Substance.
Peace.
No, that's totally cool.
Yeah, and my computer might start glitching.
Oh, wow.
Boom.
There was bullet pointed.
Yeah.
Now it's not.
Real good. Profile Guest Podcast, Magazine, Religion, and Spirituality, the Pitch Best Podcast, and KC nomination, 15,000 downloads, LTN via Alexis Podcast feed, first paid sponsor coming soon, IVP Booksale. All right, next segment.